What's up, everybody? It's your boy Tino here, as we are here today for a preview of the semifinals of the fantasy football playoffs and a recap of the first round of the fantasy football playoffs for what they were. So we're here today to talk about week 15 and then get you ready for week 16 as we're down to the final four in most leagues, depending on what type of league you're in. Maybe the playoffs just started this week. It's the first round for you. But in most leagues, it's the Final Four. So if you were lucky enough to make it to the Final Four, good luck. Congratulations to you. I was only able to make it in one of two of my leagues because I wasn't able to get 3 more points from Kenneth Walker. And now the number 3 is going to haunt me until next year. So that's okay. We're here today. I'm going to vent. I'm going to talk about it. Anybody else lose because of last night's game? Did anybody win because of JSN's touchdown? Jalen Hurts' interception? Anything you got for the fantasy football guys, let me know, and let me know how you guys are feeling. But we ain't going to waste no time here because we got a lot of information to get to and a lot of things to talk about. So let's talk about it. For the week 16 that it was, the Raiders defense went berserk. The Raiders defense make Easton, whatever his name was, Easton Stick or whatever, they made him look like a D1 quarterback out of high school. And they had fumbles, they had interceptions, they had touchdowns. They did it all on Thursday night. They scored 63 points, and they were the top defense of the week. They did their thing. We had teams like the Cowboys and the Eagles not win, and they couldn't gain any ground on each other. So as we saw last night on Monday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks came up big and got that dub, and then the Buffalo Bills did their thing on Sunday against the Cowboys. But also, guys, we still have all these injuries that go down, disappointments to big names, and everything else like that. So those were the fantasy football headlines. And let's get into, as we always like to start off here on the week, let's start off with that Monday Night Football game. Because we were here watching the Monday Night Football game as it was the Seahawks taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And it was a good game. It was actually a really, really good game. I thought it was a lot better than I think a lot of us really expected it to be. But in the end, the Seahawks ended up winning 20-17. Jalen Hurts had 2 interceptions, 143 yards, and no touchdowns. Jalen Hurts, if you started him, he did get 2 rushing touchdowns, so that definitely helped. He got 82 yards rushing, so that definitely helped his fantasy production. But on the ground or in the passing game, he just couldn't get it done. A.J. Brown, though, he almost headbutted an official or a coach on the Seahawks side, but he also had 5 receptions, 56 yards, and was able to at least get 10.6 points. Now, on the other hand, JSN, sitting on my bench, guys, 4 receptions, 48 yards, and a touchdown. He obviously got that 28-yard touchdown at the end of the game. That definitely helped his fantasy production. If he doesn't catch that, he only finishes with about 6 points. So, hopefully lucky enough for you, maybe you guys did start him, and you did get those 14 points. Kenneth Walker probably had the best day of the day out of everybody on the Seahawks as he had 19 rushes. He had 86 yards. He had 1 touchdown. He had 3 catches for about 23 yards. So he put up 20 points, which was good, except if you needed 24 points to win, if it was a catch, a touchdown, I just needed one of them. And it didn't happen. But that's why you guys just really never know in fantasy football. It could go either way. You could win. You could lose. And honestly, it's just a game of luck, and you just got to hope for the best. So, really not too much else to say about that Monday Night Football game. It was a good game. As I said, the Seahawks won, the Eagles lost. Obviously, that does a little bit with the playoffs and everything else like that. But Eagles are still in good shape. The Seahawks are trying to get to where they need to go to try to be and to try to get into the playoffs. But it was a great Monday night game, and now we go into Week 16, and it should be really entertaining. We got games on Saturday. We'll be live for one of them on Saturday, as we will also be doing the Christmas members-only episode. So come and hang out, guys, as we watch some football. We watch a Christmas movie. We don't know what Christmas movie yet. We're going to play some games. We're going to do a little bit of everything. So make sure you guys go and hit that membership. Go join. Become a member. It's only 99 cents. And you're able to get a bunch of cool stuff. You get 10% off of merchandise. Go get a cool sweatshirt like this. You'll be able to get a bunch of cool stuff coming out in that 2024. So make sure you become a member now and make sure that you do that. So appreciate you guys. But that was the Monday Night Football game. And let's talk about And let's get into now the injuries, the things I learned, the disappointments, and then that perfect lineup. If you had any of these guys, you probably are feeling really good. But let's go in and let's talk about these injuries because there are a lot of injuries, especially to big name players. Tyreek Hill, if you had him, hopefully you remembered to put him on your bench, but there were some people, Warren, buzzing with Marlowe. I don't know what happened. He forgot to set his lineup, but he forgot to take Tyreek Hill out of his lineup, and I ended up beating him in the playoffs. So thank you, buzzing with Marlowe, for sitting Tyreek Hill. But hopefully you didn't make that mistake as he did, and you did sit Tyreek Hill, and you did replace him with somebody else. Will Levis he was attended to by an ankle injury. As I always like to say, guys, it is only Tuesday, so we will have to see what happens with these guys. But two guys that look like, and one guy is out for the year. Keaton Mitchell has a knee injury. We saw him leave the game. It wasn't a good sight, but Mitchell is now out for the year. Maybe it helps Gus the Bus value a little bit, but Gus the Bus has not really been doing anything as of late. So can we really trust him? I just don't know. And Ja'Marr Chase, guys, he has a separated shoulder, and it looks like the biggest target for Jake Browning and the Cincinnati Bengals will be out in the semifinals of the championship and of the fantasy football playoffs, depending on what type of a league you're in. Maybe it's a championship this week. Maybe it's the first round. Maybe it's the semifinals. But in about 60 to 70% of leagues, it is the semifinals. So if you do not, and if somehow T. Higgins is still out there, definitely consider go picking up T. With Ja'Marr Chase being out, T. Higgins had 2 touchdowns, had himself a really good game. And, but Ja'Marr Chase will not be out there, and we'll have to see. Now, 2 Indianapolis Colts that left the game also on Saturday against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We saw Michael Pittman Jr. leave with a concussion, a head injury after he got popped in the head. And then Zach Moss, he scored a passing touchdown, a receiving touchdown, but he got his arm messed up on the play. And after that, he was nowhere to be seen. So Michael Pittman and Zach Moss, if you were able to advance, keep an eye out for them and see what goes down. So those are all of the injuries that I have written down. Obviously, there could be more that happens. We see things happen tomorrow, Thursday, Friday. We'll just have to go and see, and we'll have to see what happens and goes down. But it should be very interesting to see. Hopefully those guys get healthy, and hopefully some of them can play. That right now it's very up in the air. But we'll have to wait and see, and let's just pray they do play. So those are the injuries of week number 15 going into week number 16. Now let's talk about the things that I learned and then the disappointments of the week, because I had a lot of the disappointments on my team. 3 things I learned though, guys. The NFL is wide open. Before this past week, we had teams that were 5-7, 5-8, I should say. If they were win, and a few teams lost, like the Packers lost and a few other teams lost, they are still in the mix. The NFL is wide open. I could not tell you right now. I feel like it's like the baseball season. Could we see a team like the Arizona Diamondbacks, maybe a team like the, I don't even know, like a random, could we see like the Texans sneak into the playoffs and make it to the Super Bowl? Now, that'd be crazy. It would be really interesting to see what would happen and what would go down with that. But the NFL is so wide open, guys, that everybody asks me for my predictions for the week and wants me to give Super Bowl predictions. Until we actually know who's in the playoffs, the NFL, I cannot tell you who's going to be in the Super Bowl. And we're only 2 weeks. We're only 2 months away. So we'll have to see what goes down. But the NFL is wide open. The Cowboys, guys, and kind of the Eagles did get exposed this past week. We saw the Bills. We saw the Seahawks kind of do what you need to do to beat these 2 teams. So the Cowboys and Eagles didn't gain any ground on each other, but they also didn't lose any ground. So it was just a wash, as we like to say in the NFL and in the sports world. So the Cowboys, the Eagles were kind of exposed this past week, we learned. And could we talk about how Joe Brady has brought James Cook back from the dead, and James Cook could be a top 10, top 5 running back the rest of the way for the Buffalo Bills? This guy went out there and had 100+ rushing yards, a touchdown rushing, a receiving touchdown, caught a few balls, scored 30+ fantasy points, and we learned that James Cook with Joe Brady is a straight dog, and you could start James Cook with confidence every week as a starting running back because James Cook is a dog and he went out there and did his thing. He carried me on his back to the next round. So thank you, James Cook. But those are the three things that I learned. I also learned that it doesn't matter how much and what the score is in the fourth quarter. The Chicago Bears just can never finish a football game. So it is what it is. But that's okay. So now let's get into and let's talk about these disappointments. And these guys were just straight up booty this week. That if you had these guys, hopefully you survived in a few leagues. But because of a few of these guys, I was not able to survive. And they were some pretty big names. We had Tony Pollard only scoring 7 points. We had Brandon Cooks, the wide receiver for the Cowboys. Nobody on the Cowboys really did anything besides maybe CeeDee Lamb a little bit, but not too much. Brandon Cooks only had 3 points. We saw Derrick Henry go out there and put up a big fat goose egg after scoring 2 touchdowns in the previous 2 games. He scores no touchdowns, and he only scores 4.9 points. Travis Kelce only had 7 points. I don't know what's going on, and I thought when Taylor Swift was at the games, Travis Kelce does a little bit better, but he just couldn't get it going. DeAndre Swift only had 9 points, and yes, that's not bad, but that's not going to do for a guy that we're expecting at least 15 to 16 points from. Austin Eckler, 7 points. You know, a lot of this obviously had to do with Easton Stick, whatever the hell that guy's name is. Didn't have a great game. The Raiders made him look like garbage, and Austin Eckler just did not benefit from it at all. Ezekiel Elliott was supposed to be the running back that we were going to start in New England this week. Well, he went out there and got 9 points, caught a few balls, but just did not do what we hoped. And they started bringing in Damian Harris, where I don't know where the hell he came from, but Damian Harris scored a touchdown that helped absolutely nobody, and it was what it was. So Ezekiel Elliott, big disappointment this week. And those were some of the guys, and there were other guys that were disappointments this week. And there were a lot of guys that went down in injuries and everything else like that. Other injuries to keep an eye out, such as Josh Jacobs. Make sure to see if Josh Jacobs play this week. If not, Zadarius White went off and had a decent game on Sunday or on Thursday night. So maybe he is a guy that you can possibly stream. And if Josh Jacobs is out, he may be a good option this week. So just keep an eye out and see what goes down. But those are the disappointments of week number 15 going into week number 16. And hopefully you were able to survive. As I said, I was able to survive one league. I had Derrick Henry in, but I also had a few guys that went bananas. So good for that. But those guys, hopefully they didn't cost you your week, guys. But now let's forget about the disappointments for a second. And let's take a look at the guys. If you had these guys were straight up dogs. And if they had themselves and you had them on their team, you're probably going to the semifinals and you're feeling really good because these guys were straight up amazing on Sunday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday, whatever day that they played. And let's start at the quarterback position. Jadis, if you're in here, bro, I told you this was going to happen. I told you that it's me. I ruined the quarterback position no matter who quarterback I have. I decided that I'd go with Jake Browning, and Jake Browning had a great game. He had 30 points. And listen, I don't want to be greedy or anything, but of course, the week that I sit Jared Goff is the week that he goes out there and has 41 points. Speaking of 41 points, Christian McCaffrey also had 41 points. Christian McCaffrey, the biggest bust of the draft that I did not do because I did not draft him second overall. Season may have been a little different if I had my guy Christian McCaffrey, but what were we really supposed to expect, especially after what has happened the last few years? James Cook, 36 points. We just talked about him. He's number 1 in Buffalo, and it's a good time. Jalen Waddle with Tyreek Hill out. Jalen Waddle became that number 1 wide receiver, and he showed up and he put up numbers as he was. He put up 28 points. He had himself a great game. Sam Laporta and David Njoku had 28 points, and David had 26 points. David and Joe Flacco really love each other, guys. So David might be a streaming option this week in fantasy football semifinals in the playoffs as Joe Flacco and Njoku having themselves a good time. Sam Laporta also had a couple touchdowns, had himself a great day. I think he actually had 3 touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. It was either 2 or 3. But Sam Laporta, 28 points. I'll take it all day long. And then we talked about those Raiders. Them Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders went out, had themselves a game, 31 points in some leagues, 40 in other leagues, depending on how your scoring is. And the Raiders just went out there and they did their thing and they killed it. So those were the guys that were straight up amazing on Saturday, Sunday, Thursday, and everything else like that. So those were, if you had any of those guys, they had 262.2 points, and that was the perfect lineup of week number 15 of the first round of the fantasy football playoffs. Now, let's get into it and let's take a look at the chat. Let's see if we got anybody here. Hey, we got Hassan in the house. I know this episode is a little earlier, guys. Remember that we will be here live tonight for a special episode as we get Deech, we get Justin, and we get the boys back together. As it's one episode only in December. It's the only episode until March. The Southside Boys coming back for a Christmas episode. So make sure you come and hang out at 5 o'clock tonight as we go live and we talk everything baseball. So that is why we are live right now. And that is why we're doing the football show a little bit earlier today, as we will be live tonight at 5 o'clock when we would usually be doing this show. Next week, we should be here at 5 unless we have another show, but it should be okay. So we'll have to see. But remember also, guys, next week is our last fantasy football show of the year as we recap the semifinals, we preview the championship round, and then we give away a few awards, and we have ourselves a good time. But remember, next week will be the last episode of the fantasy football season for the channel and everything else. And then starting the following Tuesday will be the first week of January. We'll be starting, if you did not see last night, we will be starting the Royal Rumble Retro Series, everybody, as we will be going back and we'll be watching the Royal Rumbles from 2001, 2003, 2004, all the way up to 2014, which was CM Punk's last match in the WWE, to go and to see what happens 10 years later, a decade later. How is it 2024? How has it been 10 years since I walked across the stage in high school? Where the hell is time gone? I have no idea. But 2020 or 2001 to 2014, it's the Royal Rumble Retro Series, guys, here on the channel all month of January as we lead up to the 2024 Royal Rumble. But let's now get into, and let's not waste any more time, and let's start previewing the week that is the semifinals for the fantasy football playoffs. So as I said, if you were lucky enough to make it to the Final Four, if you're here in it and you're going to the ship and you want to make it to the ship, you need to get all this information down. You need to get all this information in your head. So we can set that perfect lineup and we can move on to the next round. Remember, guys, as I keep telling you, Tino's trying to go for a three-peat. He's one win away to making it back to the championship and to have the opportunity. So we got to set that perfect lineup this week. So let's not waste any more time, and let's get to everything that we got going down on the preview for week number 16. And there are no teams on a bye, as I said last week. All the byes are done. No more byes. Don't got to worry about that. So we good with that. So it's good. But now let's get to, and let me tell you some bold predictions I got and everything else like that. So let's get to the bold predictions. And I'm going to predict that Easton Stick just played like crap last week against the Raiders. I'm going to say he does the same thing against the Bills, except the Bills, they played that good against Dak Prescott. I can't imagine what they're going to do against the Chargers. So the Bills, I'm going to bold predict that they get 3 pick 6 interceptions and touchdowns, and the defense has more touchdowns than Josh Allen. Not James Cook, Josh Allen. So we'll have to see what goes down. But the Bills, 3 pick 6s. Now, 49ers and Ravens, guys, going to be a great match. Could be a Super Bowl preview. But I'm going to say that this matchup, there's no touchdowns, and there only is field goals. Justin Tucker, Jake Mooney, whoever the kickers are, have themselves a day, and it's only kicking, and it's only field goals, and there are no touchdowns scored. And then my last bold prediction is we saw it happen last night, and it could happen again next week. And I'm going to say that the New York Giants come out of nowhere, and they upset the Philadelphia Eagles, and they have themselves a great time. And the Eagles continue to slide, and maybe it's a way of like what's the thing that they say where you're trying to like say something, maybe then it will happen or the opposite will happen. Maybe the Eagles will get back on track. But I'm going to say the Giants, Tommy DeVito, his agent, and the Giants upset the Philadelphia Eagles. And those are my 3 bold predictions for week number 16 of the football season. So now let's get into the guys that we need to pick up, start, sit, stream, and everything else like that. So my top 5 waiver wire pickups of the week are Demarcus Robinson taking on the Saints with Tutu Atwell in concussion protocol and possibly, or no, I'm sorry, he is playing this week, but with guys not playing on other teams and all the injuries that we got going down, Demarcus Robinson against the Saints, it might be a high-scoring game. So he might be an option more or less in deeper leagues than anything else. Now, Noah Brown just decided to catch everything on Sunday and had himself a great game. Noah Brown going up against the Browns. I understand the Browns defense is good, but Noah Brown, if he's the only wide receiver out there again, Noah Brown is going to be the guy that Davis Mills or whoever the starting quarterback goes to. So if he's still out there, go get Noah Brown and stream him this week. CEH, Clyde Edwards-Helaire had a great game last week, and obviously it has more or less to do with Isaiah Pacheco. There was a report that did come out that say that Isaiah Pacheco possibly could play this upcoming week, but if he doesn't, Clyde Edwards-Helaire could be another good streaming option, and Jerick McKinnon. So keep an eye on that. The Raiders are not going to score 63 points against the Chiefs, and if they do, then we might have to check the Raiders because the Raiders just might be taking something we just don't know about. Darren Waller coming off of the IR, Tommy DeVito at quarterback, taking on the Eagles offense or defense that isn't the best. We saw what JSN did. We saw what Kenneth Walker did. We saw what a few guys did, and they aren't the best on defense sometimes. So Darren Waller could be a good option. My number 1 waiver wire pickup, the Chargers, I think they're going to lose this week, but I do think that there is an opportunity. If you're going to have to throw the ball, Easton is going to have to throw it to somebody. And who did he like to throw it to most last week? It was his guy, and it was the man, Josh Palmer, going up against the Bills. He's going up against the Bills this week. Last week it was the Raiders, but he scored a 79-yard touchdown. Obviously, that helps. But him and Easton seem to have a decent connection. And if you need a wide receiver with guys being hurt, if you have Jamar Chase, if you have guys like that, then maybe you take a look at Josh Palmer. And those are my top 5 waiver wire pickups of week number 16. Now that we did that, let's get into and let's talk about the starts, the sits, and the streams of week number 16. And these are the guys I need you to put in your lineup, take out of your lineup, and then for the guys that you need to put in your lineup, for those guys that I just told you to take out of your lineup. So let's not waste any more time, and let's get into it as we start with the starts of the week. We got Brock Purdy. It's MVP Purdy, guys. Do not be afraid to play Brock Purdy against the Ravens next week. I think Brock Purdy will be fine. They will be in San Francisco. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a Brock party in San Francisco. Ty Chandler, Alexander Madison missed last week. Ty Chandler put up 20-plus points. So if Alexander misses this week, Ty Chandler puts up 20-plus points against the Lions. So start Ty Chandler this week. Also, start T. Higgins against the Steelers, with Jamar Chase most likely out this week. T. Higgins could be a number 1 wide receiver for your fantasy football team. David Njoku, we talked about him on having himself a great day in the perfect lineup, and I think you finally start him this week if you haven't the last few weeks. If you have the opportunity and if you have better options, then maybe you don't, but Njoku has just been killing it lately. So I think you got to put him in your lineup. The Bills taking on the Easton Stick and the Chargers. I don't know if it will be as bad as it was last Thursday, but I do think the Bills will be able to stop Easton, and I think they'll be able to have themselves a good game. So start the Bills this week against the Chargers. Now, let's get into the sits of the week and the guys that you need to sit that I just don't think that they're going to lead you to the championship. Kyler Murray taking on the Bears. Guys, the Bears defense, you can talk all the smack you want. We make fun of them. I make fun of them now because they can't win a game in the fourth quarter, but they did intercept Joe Flacco. They did have themselves a good game. They had a pick 6 that helped their cause. So Kyler Murray going up against the Bears. Yes, Kyler Murray can run the ball, but I think the Bears can still get to Kyler. The Falcons Falcons, I just don't want any part of anybody on the Falcons. I don't care if they have a good game. I don't care if they have a decent game. I don't care if they have a superstar game. The Falcons give me so much anxiety that I don't even feel comfortable, and I don't even feel like it's worth starting them. Adam Thielen, I do not know what happened to this man. He was the best wide receiver for 6 weeks in a row, scoring 15 plus fantasy points every single week. And then Bryce Young forgets how to play football. The Panthers are a disaster. And Adam Thielen can't put up more than 8 points anymore. He's only got 10 points the last few weeks. It's just not going to do. And if you have Adam Thielen, he was one of the reasons why I got eliminated in one of my leagues. So Adam Thielen, it might just be because he made me mad and he's burned me. But I think you have better options than Adam Thielen this week against the Packers. As I always tell you, don't sit at tight end. Tight ends are too hard to come by. There's so many tight ends out there that I just don't know if there's a tight end you could be. Even Tyler Kraft has been doing his thing for the Packers. So there's a lot of tight ends out there. Now the defense I'm going to tell you to sit this week, it's the Ravens taking on the 49ers. I know the Ravens are good, and they didn't have a bad game against the Jaguars on Sunday night, but the Ravens taking on the 49ers, that 49ers offense is ridiculous. And I think the 49ers are going to have themselves, and it's going to be a really good day. So sit the Ravens defense for this week against the 49ers. Now, for those guys that I just told you to sit, let's put some guys in your lineup for those guys that I just told you to sit. Baker Mayfield been putting up decent numbers these past week, and he gets to go up against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville Jaguars defense isn't what we thought they were going to be. They have been decent. But Baker Mayfield's been putting up numbers. Mike Evans catching the ball. Chris Godwin having the game of his life last week. Rachaad White having a touchdown. And Baker just doing his thing left and right. Baker may have finally found a home. Zadarius White, guys, I talked about him earlier. If he plays this week, and if Josh Jacobs is out, I think he is a very big, good pickup this week on the waiver wire. And I think you could stream him this week against the Chiefs. JSN, Jackson Smith-Njigba, he went and had a 29-yard touchdown. He only had 4 receptions for 48 yards, but Drew Lock seemed to like him, and they seemed to look for each other. So going up against the Titans defense, their secondary isn't the best. We've seen it throughout the year. The Titans have given up a lot of yards, and I just think it could be another thing where Drew Lock didn't look too bad last night in Seattle. So maybe Seattle's offense is relevant with Drew Lock at quarterback. Hunter Henry, streaming option tight end, taking on the Broncos. Hunter Henry had 2 touchdowns, had himself a game. And we can never have too many touchdowns from a tight end. So Hunter Henry, if he's still out there, guys, go and get him. Go pick him up. Go and stream him this week. Now the streaming defense I'm going to have, the team that's giving up the most sacks, the team that just can't get anything right, it is the Washington Commanders. They are taking on the New York Jets. So I'm telling you that you stream the New York Jets. Sam Howell can't get anything going. Wasn't a great game for him. They did end up getting a few touchdowns at the end. But Sam Howell still did get intercepted. He got sacked a few times. And he just isn't as, what we thought I think he was. And the Jets have been really good no matter who they play. Yes, Tua had a better game than he had on Black Friday. But he still didn't have no, sensational game. So the Jets defense is a streaming option this week. And those are my starts, my sits, and my streams for week number 16 of the fantasy football season. And the semifinals of the week. So now let's pick these NFL games, and let's go through the games that we have going down this week, and we're going to pick them. I'm going to tell you them, and we're going to go through them. So the picture is a little blurry. I'm sorry about that. I don't know why it's like that. So hopefully it's not too bad, but let's go through these real quick. And I want to go through my picks from last week real quick because we need to do that too. So I wasn't able to find the picture for last week, so I'm just going to tell you guys. We took the Browns won. We took the Buccaneers won. The Lions won. The Bengals won. 4-0 I went on those games. That's not bad. We took the Eagles won or lost 4-1. We took the Ravens 5-1. We took the Bills 6-1. Rams 7-1. 49ers 8-1, Texans 9-1, Jets or Dolphins 10-1, Chiefs 11-1, Saints 12-1, 12-2 the Panthers won. I took the Falcons. 12-3 or 13-3 with the Colts winning, and 14-3 as the Raiders won. So we went 14-3 last week. Not bad. But this week, guys, we got 2 more weeks left of the pick'ems before we start the playoffs. We will be doing kind of preview shows for the playoffs, except they're going to be shorts. They're not going to be full-length episodes because there's really not too much to talk about for the playoffs. And I figured just giving my quick predictions instead of doing a full-length episode would be a little bit better. So we will still be doing semi-prediction episodes. We're just not going to be doing full-length videos on the playoffs. But remember, we will still be live for the playoff games. We're going to pick a game a day, and we'll be live for it. So make sure you come and hang out for the for the playoffs in the NFL. But let's get through and let's talk about this week. We got 3 more weeks left of the NFL season, and let's start and let's keep it going with week 16. So let's go the Rams to beat the Saints. Let's go the Bengals to beat the Steelers. Let's go Bills to beat the Chargers. We will take the Colts to beat the Falcons. Let's take the Lions to beat the Vikings. The Jets to beat the Commanders. The Packers to beat the Panthers. Let's go bold and let's say Texans beat the Browns. Let's say Jaguars beat the Bucks. Cardinals beat the Bears. Dolphins beat the Cowboys. Broncos beat the Patriots. Chiefs beat the Raiders. 49ers beat the Ravens. The Seahawks beat the Titans. And even though I said it was a bold prediction, I'm still going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles to defeat the New York Giants. So those are my week number 16 picks of this week and everything else. I'm so sorry, guys. I don't know why that picture was so bad. I don't know why it was so blurry. But I appreciate you guys coming here and hanging out with your boy Tino. I know we ain't going to have too many views today because I know it's a little earlier. I know people are still at work and everything else like that. So I do appreciate everybody that is stopping by and hanging out for a little bit. But the last thing that we got to do here before we go here this week is the guarantees of week number 16. And my first guarantee is I guarantee you the Jets defense will have at least 5 sacks. Sam Howell is the most sacked quarterback in the NFL this year. And I think that continues against that Jets defense. So I guarantee that the Jets have at least 5 touchdowns. If Alexander Mattison is out this week, Ty Chandler is a top 10 running back. I guarantee you that Ty Chandler will be in the top 10 running backs of the week if Alexander Mattison is out. And the last guarantee of the week is I guarantee you guys that it's crazy this season with the injuries. We have so many backup quarterbacks, so many backup running backs. I did not think I'd be starting a guy named Zadarius White in my fantasy football championship when I started the season with Derrick Henry, when I started the season with Breece Hall, when I started the season with other guys. But here we are. Zadarius White, a backup, could lead you to the fantasy football championships. So I guarantee you guys that we will see a backup quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end, or maybe even a defensive player score a touchdown, and they will lead a team, and they will be the top scorer, and they will be a top scorer of the week. I don't know which rookie, but I guarantee you it will be, or not even a rookie. It will just be a straight up backup of whoever it may be. So those are my guarantees of the week. And guys, that is all of the information that I have here for you for week number 15 that was recapped as we recapped it all. And then as we got you ready for week number 16 of the fantasy football playoffs, the semifinals, and week 16 of the regular season of the football season. So, guys, I want to thank you all so much for coming here, hanging out with your boy Tino today. Remember, we will be live here tomorrow, or we'll be here later today, I should say. Not tomorrow. Well, we'll be here tomorrow too. But later today, guys, as it's the Southside Boys Christmas special. We got Deech. We got Justin. We got Tino. Maybe we'll have a special guest or two. We'll see what happens. But it's the Southside Boys. It's a Christmas special. Come and hang out as we talk everything MLB, talk about Christmas, and everything else in between. So come and hang out, guys, and do that. Also, go check out, if you have not yet, the Pretty Fig Collector Takeover episode is now out on the channel. Go and check that out as Tia took over the channel. She talked about her experience meeting Cody Rhodes, the LWO 4-pack, 5-pack, LA Knight, yeah, and the return of CM Punk, and so much more. So come in and go check that out. Episode now out on the channel. And then, as I said, guys, also we got that. If you're not going to be here today for the Southside Boys episode, remember we'll be here live tomorrow night for the MyGM WCW versus NXT SummerSlam pay-per-view premium live event. Come and hang out as we play MyGM mode on Wednesday. It's Wednesday night gaming. You know what that means. So that's what we got going down here for the next few days, the next few hours on the channel, and everything else, guys. So hopefully you guys moved on. Hopefully all of this information will help you guys lead you to the next round of the fantasy football playoffs, get you that championship, and hopefully 1 week from today, we are celebrating having ourselves a good time. So, guys, I want to thank you all so much. Remember to go and follow all the social medias here on the channel. Remember to go and hit that like button. Go and become a member. Go leave a super chat or two. Go get yourself some merchandise like this sweatshirt at bonfire.com/Tino's Time. Make sure you guys go follow the Southside Boys. As I said, we will be live here at 5 o'clock on the channel in 3 short hours. So make sure you go and do that. Also, guys, go and follow us on Twitch, TikTok, and all of that other good stuff. But also, if you can, it's free. You can hit that like button on this episode. You can subscribe as we are on the road to 1,500. We're at 1,416, 4 away to 1,420, and we are 84 away to 1,500. So continue to hit that subscribe button, guys. Let's get that before the first of the year. We don't want to stop now. Let's get it. We got 12, 13 more days, 2 weeks. I think we can do it. So, guys, hit that subscribe button on the road to 1,500. And lastly, turn that notification button on so you know when we go live next. And before we go, today's MVP is, and he's the only one in the chat today, so it's our guy, Hassan. Hassan, you are today's MVP. Thank you for coming here, hanging out, making sure I'm not lonely, and I wasn't just by myself. So thank you, Hassan. So, guys, as I said, hit that like button, subscribe, and lastly, turn that notification button on so you know when we go live next for shorts, live streams, and everything else. But also, turn it on so you know when we go live next, which will be at 5 o'clock for the Southside Boys Christmas special. Guys, have a great rest of your afternoon, and I will see you this evening for the Southside Boys Christmas special episode with Deech and Justin coming back to Tino's Time.